Okay, I think we're good. Set live. All right, so if you are watching on YouTube, welcome. And if you'd like to chat with us directly, either via voice chat or via messaging, join us on our Discord server and our live stream channels. And you can ask us questions or ask me questions specifically. You can chat with us, ask us anything you'd like about Makeswift, or ask what I'm doing if you need me to repeat something or show something more in depth. So I'm gonna go and get started. And if you remember from last time, if you joined us, or if you didn't, I built out the homepage for a template and basically built it all out. And I'm just gonna now I'm gonna kind of finish this homepage up and then work on other pages for this site template. So join me for this wild ride. All right. So let's see, the last thing I didn't really finish on this page was basically just this home graphic, and I actually worked on a version of this home graphic, kind of similar to what I did below with the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and export this out from Figma, and I'm gonna use some similar techniques that I used from before, but first I need to actually export these different components out, and I need to figure out which ones I'd like to do first. Okay, cool. So first thing I'm gonna do, go ahead and name this one, call it Hero Graphic. I'm gonna include these two pics with it as well. That way I can export this whole thing out as one graphic. And I'm gonna have the zigzag as a graphic or as a separate SVG dot pattern, and yeah, probably this rectangle. So let's call this one. Let's go ahead and make it 100%. Yeah, I'll just do it with an image. I could do it with a gradient, but I think that's a little more complicated than it needs to be. Yeah, so let's just do it with an image. Call this one white rectangle. All right. So, like I said, first just getting these things out of Figma so I can pop them into Makeswift and make them a real website and a real web page. Cool. So I can go ahead and I'm gonna make this one a PNG, not an SVG. Otherwise, it's gonna be probably a really big SVG file. But let's make it a Retina PNG. Zigzag. I'm gonna make SVG. Leave it as it is. Dot pattern. Make this an SVG. That way it stays nice and crispy. And for the white rectangle, let's make this one a SVG as well. Probably could do this one as a GIF, but I don't even have that option in Figma. Well, that don't work, so I'll just leave it as an SVG. That'd be a very small file size. All right. Okay, so it looks like I have to export them separately if they're different file types. So let's do the hero graphic first. Go ahead and just put that on my desktop. And let's do the SVG ones, which looks like I can do together. Let's put that also on the desktop. Just checking to see if anyone's joining in Discord or not. Don't be shy, people. I know we all need a break from all the election news going on, so let me be your calming voice for the next few hours. Okay. So got those exported, so now I'm good to go ahead and start putting them inside of my page. So cool. So the way I currently have it set up, I have an image on the right. I actually need a box here because I need to wrap this image in a box. So I'm gonna drop a box just next to the image. Then I'm gonna drop this image into that new box. Perfect, that's exactly what I needed. And I'll go ahead and just add some more interspacing. This is kind of what I'm gonna be doing, the trick that I did with the video before, where just by adding a background layer, I can have it peek behind the image. So first I'm gonna add this image. Let's do choose. So actually, here we go, venture, my new folder. And let's go ahead and upload these new files. We had dot pattern green, we had hero graphic, we had white rectangle, and we had zigzags. So I'm gonna upload all those. Give it a second upload. Perfect. And for this one, I was doing the image, so I want to do the hero graphic for that. Perfect. Let's go ahead and give it an alt text, hero graphic. We'll make sure our SEO is good and our accessibility is even better. I know Google dings you for not naming your images or not providing alt tags, so make sure you do that. And now I'm gonna go to the box and I'm gonna start adding these different elements in the background. So we have the zigzag, the dot, and the rectangle. So let's do the zigzag first. Doesn't really matter what order we go in. Do the zigzag. Let's change it to be pinned first on the top right, but I'm gonna change that. All right, so instead of the complete top left, I'm gonna drag this and kind of make it a little bit lower. And let me refer back to my Figma document and see how much space I actually put around this image. I think it's a lot less than I thought. So actually I only need maybe 10 pixels around. Yeah, don't need 20. 20 is a bit overkill. Okay. Or 40, I mean. So let's do 10. Perfect. Makes the image a little bigger, so it's nice. And for the zigzag, again, don't need to be perfect or exact. Just get it in general vicinity of where it is in the Figma design. Let's put it there, kind of feel it out. All right, let's add the next element, and I'm gonna add the white rectangle. And I'm gonna do something similar, put it in the bottom right corner, use the actual image size, and I'm gonna change this opacity to something really low, like 10, which is I think what I have in Figma. Welcome everyone joining on YouTube. Let me get back to the original version of this white. Okay, it was 10. Okay. For everyone joining on YouTube, I am building a template from scratch, finishing up actually what I started on Tuesday, but we're gonna build more pages onto the site, so it'll be a full site template. So if you're joining for the first time, that's what's going on. Okay, so white, I'm gonna leave it right there. Actually, no, I think I had it going a little bit higher from the bottom corner. Yeah, because it wasn't gonna completely. There we go, something like that. Yeah, about that. And now we'll add the green dots. And you'll see that each of these is a separate layer that I can easily control, which is the beauty of Makeswift. You can keep all these things separate and move them around as you need to. Move them, change the opacity, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna move that one over some. Let's go back to the white. Where was the white positioned over here? Okay, actually look, that's pretty spot on what I had. And again, the reason I made it white was because I just felt like I didn't want to be stuck with a 10% opacity SVG inside of Makeswift. So that way I can have that control inside of Makeswift, which I prefer. Okay. Anyone join on Discord yet? We got Fikri in the house. Appreciate it, Fikri. Okay. All right, so top graphic looks done. Now all anyone would have to do is just literally replace this image up here, and they'll have all the background elements still in there. So that is good to go for this page. And just giving a quick look through. I'll probably tweak this before we actually release it, but I think it looks pretty good. So let's say that the home page is a wrap. And I'm now gonna go back. Cool, okay. Make sure the name was actually there. Cool, so let's see, I'm gonna worry about naming this stuff later. Now I am going to duplicate this page. So I'm not starting from scratch. Let's work on the features page, which I also have a design in Figma for that. You'll see over here, just more of a layout. Definitely wasn't going to design all these feature images right now because that would take some time, but I'll definitely just lay out this page pretty quickly, and then we'll maybe add some of these feature things later. I'll probably skip the other pages. Okay, so let's start working on this page. All right, let's open up our features page. Let's go ahead and edit the design. And let's start deleting some stuff. Actually, before I delete too much, actually I'll go and delete the logos. Don't need that here. And let's see. I'll probably just go and delete this box on the right. Don't need that anymore. And let's go ahead and make the spacing. I'm gonna get rid of that width to make it 100%. And let's take the hero text. Let's just make, actually wait, sorry, I think I'm actually confusing with what I did before. Okay, that's why we're centering that all. So that works. So let's center this text. Center all of it. And let's center the button as well. Make sure it's got the right font on there. Center that. Now I'm going to select the box, the hero text box, and let's just make this smaller altogether. One of the benefits of using a box. Let's make it 800. Let's go even. Just kind of eyeball up. I don't want that one on the line, even though obviously it changes depending on what you have in there as far as text goes. Let's just say 840. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to delete this headline there. I'm going to move this video background up into the same hero box. And that works. And this could be swapped out for an image or for another video. At the moment, I'll just leave it as it is because I don't think it's going to change too much. Okay, and then I want to, I think I'll leave that as it is. Don't need to close that gap right now. Let's maybe add a little bit of spacing below this button, just a hair. Okay, so the top part, and just so I remember, helps remember which for our features. Make it green. Okay. All right, so that is that section. I'm going to remove this one. Don't need that one at the moment. And I don't need the Twitter wall, so I'm going to go and delete that as well. And let's see. I'll keep this one around for now, the features list, because I might end up using it. At least parts of it, so we'll keep it there. Let's look back at our design. So we got the top part done. So the next part, I'm gonna do some alternating large feature areas. And what I'm gonna do for that is I'm actually gonna use one of our pre-built layouts that comes inside of Makeswift. So basically, if I want to add something similar, and you saw me last time, I kind of actually usually ended up just dragging things or kind of duplicating sections and reusing that, but I figured I'd do this just to show you a different kind of workflow of adding something if you want to add something to one of your pages. So I'm going to drop in this feature section. Let's go and give it a name. So we'll call this one features 1. And let's go ahead and get rid of this top spacing and then put in top spacing there. And now I want to select the inner, or this box, okay? And I just want to match the width of our content. So I have 1200 up here. So I want this to be 1200 as well. And same, actually no, I'm gonna delete this one because I'm gonna actually end up reusing this one as my main kind of version. So let's start giving some color to this. Actually, and instead of giving color, I can go ahead and give it typography styles, which is why we had these created last time. So that way I can just apply our typography that we created for the home page. Again, one of the benefits of using typography. And you know, I actually don't need this top one. Look back at the design, I just have a header, some text, and then like a text link. So I will have another text block there instead of a button. Okay. And for this button, I'm gonna go and just copy and paste this one. That is definitely easier. Actually, sorry, don't even need that. Forgot, I said I'm doing a text link. So I'm gonna duplicate that. Let's go ahead and create this text link and we'll actually make it into a typography as well. Since we'll be using it in more than one place. Make it all caps, make it semi-bold, and let's make it a little bit smaller. And I'm not gonna give it a link, but you know, I'd rather have more stuff on the template than not enough, and that way you can just delete it if you want to. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new typography style, and we'll call this one text link. And now we can reuse it and change it very easily. Now we don't need any spacing on the bottom of this, so I'm just gonna clear the styles. And I think we're good with the rest of them. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Go back here and let me just check, make sure it looks about the same. Let's go ahead and give it more text, just so it looks a little more filled out. You know what, and I can definitely close that gap in there. And let's go ahead and update this heading 2, which will also update it on the home page, because that was a little bit too much space between the lines for my taste. All right. So I'm using the gap controls here, just making that gap a little bit wider between them. Again, just kind of eyeballing it all. Nothing is an exact science, at least not this part. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just duplicate this kind of collection here of the image and the text. So it's gonna go right below. And now I'm gonna grab this image and I'm going to just right align it to the inside of this box. So make sure, just kind of flip in the sides. And fortunately with the gap property that we use, it just kind of keeps that gap between them. So I don't have to like take away the left padding from this and now add it to the right, which is one way you could do it, but that's what point of gap is. And even here, I could get rid of this and just kind of use the row gap, but since it's just one item, I'm not really gonna worry about it too much. Let's make it 120. I think that's fine. Let's go back to the design. Okay, so looks pretty close. I mean, it's obviously a little different, but that's totally fine. It doesn't need to be exact for me. If I want it to be exact, I could always try to make it more exact, but I think that would not really be necessary. Again, if you want your features to be a little smaller, let's see how that looks compared. Might get confused for thinking this, I mean, they're pretty close to each other, but let's see, what if we close that gap a little, make it 80. Make this 80. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, that way there. It's more obvious that they're separate. All right, so that's this one part here. I'm actually gonna get rid of this bottom spacing, so don't really need that. Okay, so that's the next section. So we're gonna go down to this next group here, which is just kind of some different typography, playing around with it. And then kind of like a little feature row. So again, just providing different layouts with each section. People can feel free to just delete them if they don't want them, add more columns if they want. But again, I'd rather provide too much than not enough. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and duplicate. I'm gonna duplicate this section here, features 1. So now let's drop below. We're gonna call it features 2. And let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this bottom. Don't need that. I'm going to take away the margin or the bottom spacing that's on there. I am first, okay, so let me think about this. We have the features 2 and this box in here. Okay, so I need to leave this box as is. I'm going to drop another box above it. That's going to serve as our content container. So, ooh, there you go. That's an interesting bug there. I'll let the team know about that one. Okay. So I'm going to drop a box above, right inside of feature 2. See, actually, this is good. That's where I want it. And I'm going to take away the inner spacing. I'm going to make the width of it 1200 pixels to match the width of all the rest of them. All right. And now I'm going to first go ahead and put this, let's go ahead and name this one. That way if I'm dropping stuff in, I can know where I'm putting it. Features 2 content. And let's go ahead and put these pieces of text in there. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste them. Start from what I've got. Copy and paste. I'm going to put this one to the right. So we're going to kind of start forming our own little grid here. And even though this one is still in H2, I'm going to actually just go ahead and use the H1 styles because I want like a big header. And then for this paragraph, I'm going to make it the subheader to make that also large. And again, just going for just a style here, playing around with things. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these bottom spacing. I do want to make sure that there's a gap between them because I want to make sure if, for whatever reason, if the screen is too small, that they're never going to be touching each other. So let's see if I play with making this smaller. Yeah, I want to kind of keep them on 1. I want to keep this as 2 lines, not 3, which again, could become 3 lines if you have a long header, so that's up to you. Okay, so I have this box, and I'm actually going to drop another box that is essentially going to be what wraps, it actually looks just like this, where like you have one box that's going to wrap these 3 different boxes. So each one of these is a box, so I'm going to have one more box around them. So this one has a few boxes put inside of each other. Could have also made this one header on its own, like, or one box and one section on its own, but I kind of want to keep them together. They seem like, they're going to be kind of grouped together as a feature or as a header for features. So it makes sense to kind of keep them together, but again, you can do either one. So let me put my other box, drag that in here, put it at the bottom. So I'm creating a new row by doing that. Get rid of the inner spacing, and let's add some top spacing on there. Give it some breathing room away from the text. Just checking how much I did there, 100, that's exactly what I did in Makeswift. And now I'm going to take this box, and I'm just going to drag that into here. And the next thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to start stacking. So right now I have this box with all the text in there. I'm not really going to need to keep that in a box anymore. I think if I want to simplify this, which I usually try to do, I can just start taking these elements and just removing them from the box and stacking them under the image and then deleting this box. And let me give some spacing down here. Let me check how much spacing I have between the image and the text. We have 30. So let's make it 30. And then we're going to use our other heading style for this. And now when let's do this, let's call this one, feature to row. And when I now take this box that is wrapping just the image and text, I'm gonna copy it, I'm gonna paste it, which is gonna put it in my hand like this. I wanna make sure it goes into feature to row. So you'll see there it's going exactly where I want it, not content. I need to go a little bit more to the left. Finagle it, it's a little small window there, but feature to row. There we go. And now I can select this box and just duplicate one more time. Now we have 3 equal and exact columns that are duplicates of each other. But now if I go to the row, I can now add that column gap. And that's how you kind of create 3 columns like that. There we go. So we're starting to get that variety going. Let's just reference Figma again. So I was using a bigger header here. So I created a separate, or actually I guess I have kind of 2 different ones. One's feature 2 or feature, sorry, I never actually created a typography style for this one here. So that's 24, whereas this one is 32. So I could rename it. Let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and take the style I had before, this header style, which is smaller than I want for this particular section. It's called heading 3. I'm gonna go ahead and rename this, call it heading 4, because it's gonna be smaller than what I'm gonna use right now. So I'm gonna make this one 32. Close the gap a little bit, the line height. And now let's call this one, create a new one. And we'll call this one heading 3. So kind of replacing the one we had before. Cool, and let's, instead of heading 4, heading 3, and the same for this one. And actually, technically, these are all now not even H2s anymore, they should be H3s, because this one is actually the H2. So again, trying to be correct for Google and help with SEO rankings, so you don't have to worry about that as much. And for anyone joining on YouTube, or if you've been watching, if you want to join us in our Discord channel and ask any questions or chat with us, feel free to click that link you'll see right below the video on our makeswift.com/live page. So join us if you'd like. So we've got Mafe as well. Thanks for joining, Mafe. Okay. You know what, I think I'm gonna add a little more gap here, space them out more. Yeah, that's good. Make sure they're not too tight on each other. And in Figma, I think I left off like the learn more and had less text, but yeah, we'll clean that up later. Might as well leave the learn mores here if you want those to go to other pages, or, you know, again, just keeping it flexible for you. Okay, so I think we're done with this section. So the next section is going to be the last one for this page, kind of creating a little bit of like a list of features with icons. So kind of reminiscent of what we had on the homepage, but just a little bit different layout. But again, trying to keep them connected in that way as well. Okay, so that's why I left these here as well, because I'll be able to use those. And let's go ahead and do the usual dance of copying and pasting or duplicating a section. So I'm going to go ahead and take go and take this section here, go and copy it, and paste it below. That's not what I wanted. I think I grabbed the wrong thing. Take this, copy, paste that right into the page. There we go. And I'm gonna use this bottom one to start off with. Gonna get rid of this. Actually, I'm gonna leave that text. I'm gonna get rid of this link. I'm gonna get rid of the spacing on the text. Let's get rid of all this text as well. Don't need that much, since this will be more of a smaller description for a feature. And I'm now going to put a box inside of here. And this box, each of these lines, or each of these icons with the text will be a different box, so I can control, again, or keep them grouped together, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to take an icon, copy it, and let's paste it into this box. Let's get rid of this inner spacing as well. And then I'm going to put this text into that box on the right side. So creating a 2-column grid and then dragging that over. Let's make this image smaller. Get rid of the bottom. And let's left align it, maybe. Let's see. Let's center line, make sure that everything is always centered. Okay. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this one. So we have a few of them. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna remove that outer spacing for there. And I'm gonna select the box right here that has all 4 of these items, text in 3 boxes. And I'm gonna use the row gap control here and make that 30. Because I had in my design equal spacing between all of these. Okay. You know what, actually I forgot to add some column gap here, just to make sure there's always some space there. Okay, so there's 20 on that. And actually I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the size of this one. I want the text to be a little bit closer to the image, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the width of this item, of the box, smaller. Let's make it 500. Left align it, oops. Left align it. And you'll actually see there I had trouble. I thought I was actually grabbing the box, but if I drag this, I'm gonna pick up the text. So either when I go grab in between the elements is one way to do it, or actually the easiest way to do it is also just to go ahead and click the left line button on the right. So I'll do that a lot of times if it's not as obvious or easy to grab the box itself and align it as well. Okay, and now what I can do, switch to build mode, is I'm gonna go ahead and take these boxes, delete those, because I don't want it to do the same changes over and over. And I'll just copy that one and paste it. Obviously, if I already put in the text and put in the images, maybe it would have been worth my time to not duplicate it or delete them, but because I haven't done that yet, that was totally fun to do. Okay, cool. And again, you can always have 4. Maybe I'll have 4. I had 3 in the design, but let's make it 4. And let's see what I can do here is I can actually go ahead and let's just go ahead and put these images in there too. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do it this way because I want to keep the spacing there. So let's just find them again. Just pick some random ones. Since I already have the size set for them. Let's do open box, and then we'll do and we'll put the icon in there. Let's do this one. Okay, just picking some random icons. And now we can delete this bottom section. Don't need it. Let's go ahead and remove the spacing on the bottom of this, and we'll just use the spacing here. Same thing goes for all these sections. Again, I'm just kind of removing spacing on, so that way I don't have it on both sides of the box, essentially, like above it and below it. I just have it in one place, just more of a preference for me. You can definitely do it the other way if you want, where you have it in multiple places, but I just like having things kind of a little simpler if I can. And that way, if I ever am confused as where the spacing is, I'll just have one place I can kind of see with this, you know, green here. Okay, and again, let me just do that for all these sections, just to simplify. And again, I'm kind of just eyeballing the amount of space that goes between them. Already did it up here, so we're good there. All right, and I think we are done for the moment with this page. Like I said, I'll definitely come back to it later on, possibly not in the live stream, and I'll work on putting some, you know, fake app mockups and things like that in there to make it look like a full template. You know, even though obviously you'll be putting in your own images if you're using this template, but just to make it look a little fuller and a little more complete, I definitely want to be putting in something there so it doesn't look just like a wireframe. All right, so before I move on to the next page, got to make sure it looks good on all the other devices. So let's do that really quickly. And if I hit 2 or click up here, switch to tablet. And luckily our navigation, since we brought it from the home page, that's done. Don't have to worry about that. Let's start tweaking the stuff below. So I don't want to be using any sort of tablet styles there. I want to just go ahead and make it pull from desktop because I know it's center aligned. I think video looks good. I think I'm okay with these sections here. What happens if I make this bigger? No, probably don't want to do that. Okay, I think that looks okay as far as the, because again, this image here might be taller. I might adjust this once I actually put an image in there, but for the time being, I think on the tablet it's okay to be 2 columns there, but I will close this gap between them because that's a little bit too much. Same thing up here. Let's go ahead and remove that gap. That looks fine, I think. Keep it 100, yeah. Keep it 100. And let's see, let's do the same thing here. Remove that bottom gap. Yeah, and again, this also will change depending on how much text you have. If you have less or more, you might want to readjust the columns, but at the moment, this looks pretty good to me. Let's change the column gap here. First, let's shrink that gap, or that column, or that top spacing. Let's make the gap a little bit smaller. It's like 40. Might be a little small for tablet, but I'm not hating it, so I think that might be okay. The one thing I might want to change though for tablet is I might want to make each of these just be a little bit closer together. And again, if you've got some details in your images, or maybe when I actually put in my text or content, and I have details I don't want to be so shrunken down, I might want to change this as well. But for the time being, I think it's okay. And again, let's close that. Now for this one, that looks kind of funky to me, like not the best. So I think for here on tablet, I'm gonna go ahead and break the row. So I'm gonna click on this vertical dash line, make that image go down to the bottom, and then let's add some top spacing above that image. Yeah, that looks a little better. And then let's close that gap a little bit. And I know I keep using the word gap versus spacing, and they are technically 2 different things inside of Makeswift, so sorry about that if I'm being confusing. Let's see, what did I do on the home page? I can't remember how much space I had below. Let's switch back really quickly. Try to keep things consistent. So if I'm on tablet, okay, they were pretty close. And again, doesn't mean I have to keep them the same, but sometimes I just want to make sure I'm trying to be consistent with spacing and things like that. But again, this also depends on what the design is in here. Sometimes that'll make you want to put more space between them. I'll put it back at 60. I think that looks fine. Okay, and let's see, I want to try to decide if I want to make this go wider The only problem is that I start losing that spacing that I have that I like between the image and the text. So for now, I think this is okay. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset if this is shorter than the full width of it. Again, can always be changed if you'd like to. All right, so it's kind of giving it a quick glance before I switch to mobile mode. And I think it looks pretty good. So let's switch to mobile. And we should have even less stuff to do, hopefully. That's what I always say to myself. Then I'm sometimes wrong, but let's hope it's the case this time. So I switched to mobile. You can also hit 3 on your keyboard. Again, the videos is from the home page. We kind of intentionally left it this way, so I'm not going to change that. Let's see. Okay, looks like one of these, yeah, because we brought this one from the layout, from the sidebar, it actually came with this pre-broken mobile styling, which is exactly how I want it. So I'm going to do the same for this. I'm going to break this row. I'm going to get rid of the bottom spacing though, don't want that there. And I'm going to add, let's see how much spacing I have on this image. I have 20 pixels there, so I want to do the same thing here. So instead of the bottom, I want to do the top. Now, here's an interesting problem that a lot of times I run into when creating a template. And I know this is a thing that a lot of users want, is that they want to have on desktop, you know, something like image, text on the right, and then the next row would be text on the left, image on the right. So they kind of flip it like I've done here. But the problem is that on mobile, you might want to have image, text, image, text. So I'll show you how I do that and how you could do that. I try to avoid using the visibility controls and templates when I'm creating them because I just feel like it might be confusing for people, but I'll show you how I do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to desktop actually. And I'm going to take this image and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to put it right above the text. And this, I'm actually going to hide on desktop and tablet because I don't need to worry about it being on top. So I'm going to select the box that wraps around. I'm going to hide it by using visibility on the right. So now it's hidden on desktop. It is also hidden on tablet, which is good. And then on mobile, I'm going to unhide it and show it. And I'm going to then take this image. So I need to go to the box that wraps this whole section. And it's the second part. There's a box on top and the image below. So I'm going to hide that. And now I can go ahead and take out or switch the spacing up a little bit and put it 20 below. So basically this image would be a duplicate of the other image. So that is, that's how you would solve that issue right now, or not really an issue, but solve that design problem. But I'm actually going to go ahead and just remove that because, again, I don't like using visibility for templates because I'm afraid that people don't realize what's going on and they're going to be changing one image, not realizing that there's actually 2 images to change. And I think that's going to lead to some confusion. So, in my opinion, better safe than sorry. And for the time being, they're just going to be image, text, text, image. I think that'll be okay. All right, so down to this next section. Actually, let me get rid of this bottom spacing. Okay, so this is where we're gonna start stacking probably everything. So the first thing I'm gonna stack this text. So I'm gonna have it be large header and then paragraph. Let's add some spacing below that header. 20 looks about good. Now I'm gonna select on this other box that is the feature row. And I'm gonna go ahead and just break each of these different boxes into a different row. So I'm gonna break that one by clicking on the vertical line. I'm gonna break this one doing the same thing. And now, so we have some column gap that was actually set. Actually, no, there's not column gap on there. Where's that pulling from? Oh, there we go. We have actually spacing added from the box. I'm gonna remove that because I don't want the box spacing. I want to use column gap with that box. And that box meaning feature to row, the one that has 3 of these boxes in there. And not column gap, sorry, I mean row gap. And again, that way I can control it from one place and have them all be the exact same. Cool, and let's remove this outer spacing as well. Don't need that one there. All right, and I think we could probably, where are you coming from? Here we go. Feature row 2 has some extra spacing there that I'm going to kind of just get rid of a little bit. Let's see. You know what, let's do this. Bring it back to 80. You know, instead of using it here, this is a little bit harder to find. I'm gonna go ahead and just put it on this element. Just a little more obvious, a little easier to click on. Okay. Okay, that section is done. Do the same thing, remove that bottom inner spacing. And now let's start doing the same thing here. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this image back to the bottom. So I'm gonna remove that bottom spacing while I'm here. Gonna break this row. Looks immediately better, which is awesome. I thought I was gonna have to do a lot more work than that, but that looks pretty good almost just on its own. Let's reverse this spacing. Instead of the bottom, let's go to the top. Nice, nice. Okay, and then like again, because we had our CTA already set up from our homepage, don't have to do anything to it now. One of those elements that's gonna stay the same on every page I put it on, so I don't have to ever worry about it once I've done it on one page. And just so everyone knows, we are currently working on a really big feature that we've been wanting to put out for a while now called Global Elements. And that's gonna make it so you can literally just save out this CTA or even the whole footer or your header or any piece of any part of your page and make it a global element that when you put it on different pages or multiple times on a page, they're all connected to one main global element. So if you make a change to that one global element, it's gonna update everywhere. So it's gonna be a really, really awesome feature that we can't wait to get out there. And we are currently working on that. So anyone who's asking questions as far as why am I copying and pasting, what happens if I change this one, does it not change the homepage? We're getting there, so bear with us. Okay, so I think I am done with the feature page. Cool, just looking over it. And again, I didn't really design this page for tablet or mobile. You know, I kind of do it just once for desktop. And in my head, I kind of know what I'm gonna do when it comes to mobile. Or when I start actually working mobile, that's when I kind of figure it out. But again, usually it's just stacking things and adjusting things a little bit here and there. Awesome, so that is the features page. Let me switch back to tablet, make sure it looks good there. Looks pretty good. And let's switch to desktop and make sure that everything looks like we left it there. And it looks like it does. Looks good, all right. So features page is done for now. The next page I'm gonna work on is gonna be the pricing page. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So let's go back to page settings. Let's go ahead and duplicate. Yeah, let's go and duplicate this page. Call it pricing. Change the URL. Okay, let's go into that pricing page. And here I really am going to start deleting pretty much everything because I really don't need that much here. So I'm going to delete all these sections that we had for the features. Delete this one too. Didn't name it, but that's okay. Okay, so we're gonna kind of start off a little simpler. I haven't even designed this actually, so I'm gonna really just freestyle it, pretty much design it inside of Makeswift, which I really believe our tool is good for that. You don't have to always use Figma or whatever design tool you use or Sketch. Sometimes I just go straight into Makeswift and start designing in there. So let's just just name that just so I know what page I'm on. Sometimes I do actually forget. Let's see, I'm not gonna have this sign up now button because I'm gonna probably have them within each pricing plan. And I'm probably gonna do, the first thing I'm gonna do here is a pretty simple pricing plan selection that you see in a lot of different tools. I'm gonna first drag, let's see, I'm gonna leave this hero text up here. I'm gonna leave it as a hero. I'm gonna actually create another section. Go and duplicate that. And don't need to be called hero text. And there we go, okay. Actually, yeah, I'll leave this box there. So actually I have another, I forgot I have a hero content. I need to get rid of this because it's not hero content anymore. Okay. So we're gonna call this section pricing plans. Also call it plans, let's keep it short. All right. Anyone joining us on YouTube, feel free to hop on Discord where we are just hanging out, keeping it casual, ask me any questions, give me a challenge, something. Again, I'm open for anything. So it's up to you. You can either chat with us on the voice channel or just text with me and message me straight on the messaging channel for live stream. But thanks for joining so far. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna make this, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and make this box. This will be one of the plans. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this one full width. Let's call this one plan 1, so like I know which box I'm working in. And let's call, let's say, just again, naming my boxes so I know. Let's say plans row, or actually, you know what? Plans list. Okay. And I'm going to first give this plan a background color. I'm gonna make it, let's say at the moment, I'm just gonna make it white with a very low opacity, but I'm gonna be playing with this and changing it. And let's go ahead and give it some corner radius. So I'm gonna make it like, I think 8, probably pretty good, maybe 10. All right, and let's start dropping some content in there. So, you know, your typical plans. Actually, before I do, let me add some interspacing as well. There we go. So we know we're gonna want that. Might need to change it once we get content, but say 30 for now. So the first thing I'm gonna add is just some text. Just copy and paste some text in there. You know, let's actually reference, I'm gonna kind of look at some other sources of inspiration. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So I'm gonna head over to Framer and just kind of take a look at their pricing page and probably do something similar to this. Not that this is anything so different than what you see on most applications, but Framer has pretty good design, great branding. So I figured I'd hop over there and see what they've got. Yeah, so let's just do something like this, which I've actually created for other templates. Let's do that. So the first text is going to be like the name of the plan. We'll just call this one like the free plan. Let's left align everything. My dog is trying to get in the office. I can hear her scratching, which could be terrifying sounding for some people. Make this one, probably don't need this to be any header. Actually, this one will probably be the header technically. Make this one an H2. Let's just say $0 per month. I'm going to make the dollar amount heading 2, and let's make the month part, let's just make it a paragraph. Actually, let's make it a subheader so it's not too small. Okay. Let's add a little bit of spacing between there. Let's hop back to Framer, see what they have again. So they have like a little bit of text. Why not? Let's put some text there. Copy and paste it. We have a typography style I created called, I believe, paragraph small. Actually, I didn't do paragraph small. That's fine. We'll just do paragraph. Yeah, paragraph works. And let's left align that. And let's go ahead and just put some fake text in here for people who just want to try this out. Okay. Just maybe close that gap a little bit. And then the next thing a lot of pricing plans will do is they just show you the different features that are included. So let's do the same thing. So I'm going to drop a box inside. Gonna remove the inner spacing. I am then, so let me think. So actually what I want to do is I'm gonna have this box will be the features list. So let's do the plan one feature list. And then I could add more boxes inside to separate each feature, but instead of doing that, let's go ahead. I'm gonna do it differently than I did before, because I actually don't think I really need it, and let's keep it simpler. And I'm gonna go ahead and instead just add an image, which will be the check mark, which we'll have in there. Let's left align that, make it much smaller. It'll probably be something like, let me leave it a little bit bigger for now. I'm gonna go ahead and create the check mark in a second in Figma. And let's take this text. Actually, I'm gonna take this text. And let's paste it and put it to the right. Actually, no, I don't think I did it. I want it to be on the right of here. There we go. So now it's inside of this box that I've put down there. Let's get rid of the spacing. Let's take this, make it vertically centered. Let's add some row gap. You don't see it now, but you will see it once I add more things. You know what? Yeah, let's not do that. Let's actually put them in its own box. I think that'll be easier to do. Yeah, that'd be much easier when it comes to copying and pasting or duplicating. So I take that back. We're gonna leave plan feature list. We're gonna reuse this for a different box, which I'm gonna drop in right above. And now I'm gonna take this box and just drop it in there. And this box does not need the column gap, or does I mean the row gap? I mean, it needs the column gap. And I'm gonna adjust this handle. Oh, the handle's a little hard to grab, so to help with that, so add that spacing for now, and I can grab this gap. Okay. Actually, probably gonna want it to be 2, because what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna have 3 of these next to each other. So this will actually be a lot closer than it looks right now. And if I want to be able to see that, what I can do is I can actually just go ahead and copy and paste this just for the time being, just so I have a little bit better idea. Let's see, unlimited something. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, before I start duplicating this, because I want to actually put an icon here, is I'm going to hop over to Figma and let's create this icon. So I'm going to do this for first. I'm going to duplicate. Add a row gap first. Say 15. I'm going to just hide this image, give it a opacity of 0. And now I have kind of a space I can work with that I can see and use. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this box here. So what I do a lot of times, I'll take a screenshot of the thing I'm working on. That way it gives me like a canvas to compare to. So let me take that screenshot. I open it up in Figma. I'm actually gonna paste it in Figma. Let me do this. Yeah, I can just paste it next to it. Okay, there we go. So first things first, let's add an oval or a circle. Let's do 32 for now. Get rid of the fill. Let's add a stroke. I'm gonna do the, I'm gonna do the purple. You know, actually I might do the purple on the outside. Let's give it a purple fill with a green check on the inside. I'm gonna use the pen tool for this check. Use our green color. Let's give it some rounded corners a little bit, some rounded caps. And I think I'll make this a little bit thicker. Let's back out and see what it looks like. Too thick. Way too thick. Back to 2. Okay. I think I'm trying to just mimic the design aesthetic I have going on over here. So what I could also do, which might even look a little bit better. First thing I'm gonna do is actually gonna make it the, oops, I want this to be a little bit more aligned to the grid. So that's better. There we go. Now I have a nice, is that a 45-degree angle or not quite? There we go. Now I've got the 45-degree angle I'm looking for. And what I was going to say is I might actually take this circle. I'm going to give it a stroke of the green. And rather than fill it with the purple all the way, I'm going to create another oval and fill it part of the way. And this might look like garbage, but let's find out. You know, I think it might have looked better when it was the purple fill instead of the green border. So let's switch back to that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this into a frame. Let's call it check mark. And let's export this guy. I'll make sure it's big enough for my taste too. Yeah, I think 32 looks pretty good. I make that. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So if I take the check mark, I'm gonna export it as an SVG. Put them on the desktop. Let's switch back over to Makeswift. Gonna go and delete this one. Let's choose an image and let's drop the check mark and put it into here. Not really dropping it, but I'm actually just selecting it, but you could drop it if you wanted to. So now we have our check mark. Perfect. And now I'm gonna just take this and just duplicate that a few times. I think it might be a little bit too far apart for my taste. So I might just do 10 pixels of gap between them, which that looks better. All right, so that's the free plan. So let's delete one of these. And the reason I'm leaving this one here is because when you have something already in a row, if I just duplicate, it automatically puts it into a row as well, or into that same row. So now I'll delete that last one. Let's close this gap by a good bit. We have to be pretty close to each other. That's better. Okay. You know, I just noticed that I had the width set on all those, so let's back it up a little bit and let's change that width to be its automatic width that the image just comes with that I set it to from Figma. Let's try that again. Duplicate, oops. Yeah, duplicate and then delete this one and close that gap. Okay, that is better. All right. So let's make this next one. Let's just say I call this one the Pro plan. We'll say it's, you know, $49 a month. We'll call this one, let's see what other people call it, either custom or enterprise. Okay, so let's see, they call the actual plan enterprise, and we'll call the actual, or say the price will be custom. For teams who need more features, and for large companies who need support and security. And I'm not going to actually have it be, I don't want it to be vertically aligned, which it looks like it is to start off with, but I'm going to remove that. And then let's go ahead and just add a few more checkboxes for the Pro version. I'm actually going to go ahead and take away some of the top spacing there. I just don't like it being as much up top. Let's make the color now. I'm going to change the color because a lot of times you have a different color for each plan. You know, as you see here, Framer kind of highlights this middle plan in this bright blue color. So I think we could do the same thing. Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? I totally forgot. I forgot to add the buttons for signing up. Let's do that. Copy and paste this one. And I'm going to make this text smaller. Let's see, let's make it full width. And let's add spacing to the top. And just eyeballing it. Okay. Let's see if I make it medium so it's not quite as large. Okay, I think it works for me. Let's copy and paste this one. Since I added the top spacing, it's gonna come with it. So really easy to just copy and paste. I don't need to like remove these two columns and duplicate the first one again. Like I said, you know, I sometimes do. Now that I've started adding things, I don't want to go back and do all that over again. For teams and professionals, I want to have it on 2 lines as well. No cost. Okay, just making it more equal. Have 2 lines of text. Okay, so let's talk about also adding some different colors here. What we can do is we can add a different background color and change the opacity. Make it a little bit brighter. Trying to feel it out. Let's see, it's green. That's pretty bright. Maybe a little too bright. Yeah, that's maybe a little too bright. I think the purple, yeah, I think that works a little better. What I could do is even kind of imitate, because I'm actually going to put a whole other section between these two. So what I could do is actually imitate what I've got down here with this gradient. I have the blue and the purple. I'm going to do that. Let's, instead of using the background color, let's use a background gradient. We get the blue and we got the purple. Change the opacity up, make it higher, and let's rotate this around. So I can either go straight up and down, or I might give it a little bit of an angle. Just add a little bit of interest. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Definitely calls out attention to it. And let me just look one more time. So they have different colors for their buttons. They have different colors for each one. I'm not going to do that. It's a little bit, you know, more than necessary, I think, for this particular one. You know, so you sign up now instead of that. We probably want to say something like, you know, contact us. That's usually what you do for enterprise deals. And we could, if we wanted to, we could make the button maybe not quite as prominent, but we can maybe add something like, you know, make it this blue color and change the text to be white. So something like that, make it look a little bit different on its own. Or maybe instead of the blue, maybe we do this purplish color. Yeah, something like that could work. All right, so those are our pricing plans. Let's bring this a little bit closer to the text. Okay. Looks pretty good. So before I continue, I'm going to hop off and take a 10-15 minute break. So if you want to stay on, feel free to do so. Feel free to come back in 10-15 minutes if you'd like. Again, keep plugging it, but if you haven't seen it yet, we have a link to our Discord channel right underneath the video. That is on our makeswift.com/live page. It's also, if you're on the actual YouTube page itself on YouTube, you'll see some links to Discord as well. So feel free to join us on Discord and hang out with us, ask questions, do whatever you'd like to do. Again, keeping it casual, take your mind off the elections if you're in the US, or even if you're not in the US, I'm sure you're probably talking about it or thinking about it. But yeah, so I'll be back very soon. Thanks, Fikri. All right, I am back. Thank you, Fikri and Mafe, for not abandoning me. Okay. So the next thing I am going to do on this page that I am building is I want to add a features table. So we don't have a table component, but I think I can build one just by using what we've got in the sidebar. So let's try it out and see if it works. And what I'm going for is something similar to what Framer has here. Just a simple list of features that kind of has a little easier way to compare your features. So I'm going to do something very similar, combination of check marks, maybe some text. But yeah, let's do something like this. I'm obviously not going to put in all this content like that because I'm not going to do it right in front of you at least. I'll at least maybe do it on my own time. But yeah, let's do this. See where it takes us. And I'll probably be adding an FAQ as well. Always a good idea, have an FAQ. Okay, let's start with the features though. All right, let's add, I'm going to just do this from scratch a little bit more. Let's add a page, or sorry, a box onto our page. What do we have here? I forget, 30 on each side. So let's do 30 and then make the top have our spacing. And then let's add another box inside of here to be the actual, essentially the table or the width, you know, that kind of houses the all the content. Get rid of the spacing and let's make the width, let's type it in. Make it 1200, match the same width as the one above. Okay, so let's start doing this. So let's say, let's call this box features table. And what I'm planning on doing is adding a box for every single row that you see here. So every single row will be its own box that has like the text. And I probably won't have as much text either. I'll probably just have like the titles of each feature and then the either check mark or number, something like that. Yeah, so I think that'll work. Oops. Okay. Nope, let's go to Makeswift. All right, so this is our table, so I'm adding another box into this table. Yeah, we can leave it with the little bit of spacing. Actually, you know what? I'll get rid of the outer spacing there. I'm going to give it top inner spacing and bottom inner spacing. So it'll be kind of the padding. And then we'll go ahead and give it a bottom border I'll give it white. That's like a very kind of light white. So let's try 15%. See how it looks. Deselect. Oh, didn't give it an actual height. So there we go. Let's maybe do 20%. Okay. And we might tweak it later, but that's okay for the moment. So the first thing I'm going to add is I'm going to go ahead and create the table header like you saw in Framer, where it says like features and then the name of the plans to the right of it. Let's see. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a text. Actually, sorry, let's drop a text component or copy and paste. Get rid of the month one here. Say features. And then let's take one of these and copy and paste it to the right. Okay, so we'll leave it as free. We'll say that. And then let me get rid of the bottom spacing. Don't need that. And let's take this bottom spacing off as well. And let's select the box, which is our row. And for this particular one, let's bottom align them. That way they'll be kind of closer to the table and they'll be a little more readable in that way. I think that'll just look better too. And then let's take this text and let's duplicate it a couple times. So we'll say Pro and Enterprise. And what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna make these center aligned. Get rid of they don't need the H2 tags because technically they're not really, I wouldn't consider them H2s at this point. This one, I would say is an H2. Let's see, compare plans. And maybe let's make that one a little smaller. I think the heading 2 might be a little bit large. There we go. And also what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust the column in here because I don't want them to be completely evenly distributed like that. Maybe we want these to be like 2 columns each for these plan names. Yeah, and that way the feature names, let's see, compare features, there we go. That makes a little more sense because underneath this will be the actual features and on the right will be the plan. So that makes sense. Yeah, looks pretty good so far. So let's go ahead and duplicate this one. And the next one, so the first one's the header. So it might look a little different. It might have, again, like the text, it's gonna have the text, gonna have like a larger header. Like this header, for example, will not be large. We'll make it just a paragraph. And we'll say this is a feature to compare. And we'll just use that for now. And instead of text here, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually delete these. So I'm going to have to kind of readjust these columns again because I'm going to have to delete them. If that's okay. And we're going to take the image, the check mark, and I'm going to paste it to the right of this text. And let's duplicate that. And instead of bottom align, I'm actually going to vertically align this one too, because I think this will look much better when it's vertically aligned. And let's take this and just quickly bring that over. And let's center align these so they'll be right underneath that table header. There we go. And we could probably make this a little bit smaller. Don't need as much top and bottom spacing. That looks pretty good. And then all I have to do here is literally just start duplicating. And there we have our feature chart right there. So that is, like you saw, pretty easy to do until we have an actual table component. But until then, you can use it that way. And we'll get to styling it for mobile later on as well to make sure it looks good there. But for desktop, it looks pretty good. Let me simply compare it back to Framers. I mean, obviously, they don't have the lines between, which again, it's all preference. We definitely could have, let's see, I'm curious what it might look like if we take away the border for the bottom there. Actually, let's just get rid of the height. You kind of lose a little bit of that readability, and we don't have the hover effects that Framer does, so I think let's go and leave the border. I think we'll be fine with that. Okay. And here's actually another thing that we could do. So let's go and call this one compare features, because this is what Framer has in here, that they have a little link up here that like literally just kind of brings you down to that page or that part of the page. And we can recreate something very similar where we have, let's drop in or copy some text. I'm going to put it below these pricing plans. So right there, so the plans list, or I can put it anywhere kind of below, but I'm going to make sure it's like more part of the pricing. I'll just put it here. And then I'm going to take this, center align it. You know what? Change my mind. Instead of using a text, I'm going to use a button. Let's copy this button. Let's paste it kind of where we had it before, underneath plans. Delphi don't want it to be full width like that, so we're gonna just make it auto width. I'm actually gonna change the style. Instead of flat, let's make it clear. Let's change the text color to be that green. And this is gonna look a lot like our text link style that we created with the text typography before. So I could have done it with text. I could have definitely had, you know, a text link there. That was just like an inline text block with a link, but just felt like making it a button. So let's see, compare features. And instead of open page, I'm gonna have scrolled element. And now within this drop-down list, we can find that section that I created and we can just do right there. So that way now if someone clicks that button, it'll immediately scroll them down to that part of the page. And again, you know, you might say it's a little bit pointless right here because, you know, it's like right below it. So if you're going to scroll, you know, you would just kind of get there very quickly anyways. But let's just say for some reason you want to put something between, and it's a little bit of a break. But again, just showing you another way you could do things using the features that we have built in. And again, just to reiterate, you know, naming that section is what allowed me to select it as a element to scroll to. Okay, so that looks pretty good for that chart. The final part I'm gonna add on here is I think I'm gonna add the FAQs. And what I'm gonna do is actually, I think I'm going to, yeah, let's do this. Let's go and copy this hero. And let's paste it onto the page. Let's give this a little bit more spacing. Don't think we need that there. Yeah, I think we're okay without it. Actually, you know what? Let's get rid of it. Okay. And it'll say frequently asked questions. Let's make this an H2 typography with an H2 tag. And I think what I'm going to do now, again, just kind of freestyling here, is I'm going to take, I want to make it a similar, I'm going to take this background, this box here, and I'm going to paste it into the FAQ. So I'm also going to take away this hero text box because I don't need that there. It's a little bit too much. Too many boxes. Clean up when you can. Okay, and now let's just kind of start deleting some things here. So I can get rid of this plan list. I can get rid of the button. Don't want that there. I'm going to keep this text there. And I'm going to delete that text. And let's make this is a question. Is it? And then let's make this let's make it a heading 4. So nothing like too large. And we could probably make it, I guess we could make it an H3, technically. And then we'll leave this one as a paragraph, so it looks good. So let's go ahead and let me actually grab some lorem ipsum just to kind of throw in there. Got a little handy dandy lorem ipsum. Whenever you're too lazy to think of text to put in. That's probably a lot of text, don't really need all of that. Let's just shorten it up a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna make this back to 30 all around. Actually, you can get rid of the spacing down here and make that, that's already 30 it looks like. Yeah, that's 30, so perfect. Cool. So I'm actually gonna take this entire section, let's call this FAQ content, because it's not the hero content anymore. Let's call this FAQ. And I'm actually gonna make it smaller because I don't want the FAQ to be as large. It doesn't need to be 1200. Otherwise, it's actually a little, you know, if you have a lot of content that someone needs to read, you don't want to be making them, I guess, essentially going all the way left, all the way right. It's very hard to read content that way. So you want to kind of keep your stuff shorter if you can, or smaller if you can. Like obviously for things like this, that's just more like a style preference. But when it comes to actual blocks of content, you definitely don't want to make it be too wide. That includes like blog posts or, you know, any amounts of large content. Okay, so that is the question. So I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this a few times. Yeah, we'll say 5 for now. And I'm gonna select the FAQ content again. Let's increase the, let's get rid of the column gap. Don't need that at the moment. That applied back to the actual pricing, I think. So let's add a row gap. And because we've added row gap, again, I could have put these in a separate box, but I just didn't really need to control the gaps. That way I'm not affecting the gap between the frequently asked question title and that, but I think it's okay. I'll just make up for it by removing some here, and that is okay. Okay. So that is our FAQs. That was pretty easy and straightforward to do. And let's close that gap a little bit. Don't need to be so big. All right. So that's our desktop version of our pricing page. And I think everyone can guess the next step will be to make sure this looks good in tablet and in mobile. So again, I'm just kind of looking at it on desktop, make sure everything looks good. I think it looks pretty good. And just as a reminder for people, I did not have this designed. I kind of just designed it right in Makeswift. Has that power. Can't do the vectors, can't draw the, you know, check marks or icons or anything like that, but pretty much almost all the other things you can do right in Makeswift. Okay, so I'm going to switch to tablet. And let's see what it looks like. Looks like garbage. So let's fix that really quickly. It's definitely too tight for these 3 columns. So let's go ahead and start breaking these up. I'm gonna break up the last one first, put it on its own row, do the same with that. And let's go ahead. Oof, man, this is definitely, let's do this. Let's put the pro and the free next to each other. I'm gonna do that. I think that could make more sense. So in that case, yeah, so that's fine. We can do that. Let's add some row gaps so the enterprise is a little further away. And let's start fixing these things here. So these, for some reason, came with outer spacing, which is unfortunate. One of those things that happens where, you know, you realize after you put in all your content that, you know, you maybe should have looked at this one particular thing on mobile first or on tablet first before you started duplicating it, but that's okay. So I'm kind of bringing everything back to the desktop style. So these had basically been separated for mobile or tablet, and I just honestly don't want them to be separated. I want them to look just like they did on desktop. That applies to almost all this stuff. And again, this, if I had known ahead of time, this would have been a little bit easier, but again, you see it's just pretty easy. Just a lot of clicking of the X's. Could be worse. And obviously I could even, actually, I could now. Let's do this. Let's go, I don't know if it's any easier to delete versus just doing this. I was gonna say I could go back and just delete these and then duplicate the first lines, but this is probably technically the same amount of time, so that's okay. We've got time. All right, so obviously this custom, the checkbox here looks a little bit funky, so we don't want it to look like that. So I'm actually going to take the whole entire list. Oops. I'm going to select it. Basically, I have to kind of make sure you select between them, and you can kind of actually grab the box or use the breadcrumbs, either way. And I'm going to make this one smaller so they're much closer together. Oops, not too small. Let's say like 350. Let's left align it. And for this button, don't need the width set on there. Get the spacing back to what it was before. Okay. Okay, so not bad. And here's one thing we could do. This looks a little bit funny with the space below the free plan, so I'm not loving that. So what I can do is I can match the height of this box to the height of this box. And I'm going to do that by changing the height here. And now you'll see it at least fills up the space, so that looks a little better, I think. Especially with the custom box below. If this wasn't below, I probably wouldn't have that problem, but I think that's how I'd like it to be. So now I think that the plans look pretty good on tablet. I'm sure on mobile I'm going to need to fix a few things, but that's okay. Don't need the spacing here. Okay, let's bring the spacing down a little bit there. Don't need the spacing on the text. Again, that's coming from somewhere that we set before. I guess wherever I copy and pasted it from, it was needed there, but we don't need it here. So again, easy enough to get rid of. Okay, so the table looks pretty good on tablet. I don't think I really need to change that at all. So that's good. And the FAQs, let's add more spacing up there. That's a little close. And we have the same, just same issue here. You know what, in this case, I think I will just delete. Oops. And start from there. And let's hope I didn't make the same mistake on mobile. I did. All right, let's try it again. Let's go ahead and get rid of it or make it look good on mobile. And let's delete again. Okay, and now I can take this. And actually, first before I do that, let's make sure the spacing is what we want. I might want to like have less inner spacing on there. It's, you know, for mobile, I don't want to take up or lose that much space. So that's a little better. Okay, now we can take this and repeat that. Much better. Okay, back to tablet. Okay, so I think we were pretty good on tablet. Yeah, now it looks good. Okay, so for here, I'm going to stack all the plans up. Okay, actually, let's get rid of the spacing. Stack these plans. We've got the row gap already set from tablet. Let's maybe bring it down a little bit. I don't think we need 30. Let's maybe 20. Same thing here. Okay, all good. These are the lessons that you learn. Again, sometimes it's just more worthwhile to do a part, check it on mobile first before you start duplicating it. But that's all good. Again, just clearing these mobile styles. Because I think the desktop styles look pretty good still. Here's something that I might want to actually kind of override just for this. So basically on desktop we have kind of larger numbers, which I like that look. I'm a big text typography person. So they start getting a little small for my taste on tablet even, so I might even go here and start making them larger. Maybe bring back to like 48 pixels. Custom doesn't bother me as much, but let's just be consistent. And I'm gonna leave them yellow. I don't want to affect the headings to style, because I don't want this to also affect the other heading twos. For example, not this one, but like this one, for example, I don't want this one to be 48. So I'm gonna leave that overridden just for these particular areas, which is another thing that's really great about typography. You can do that. And then with mobile, same thing. I'm gonna take these numbers, I'm gonna make them bigger. You know, I might even just make them, let's make them 40, let's make them 48. Why not? Keep them the same. They can, looks like they've got some space. I might make the custom one a little bit smaller. Visually, you probably can't really tell. Okay, now let's go back in here and let's start removing these mobile styles as well. Probably could use some sort of keyboard shortcut here, if Alan and Miguel are listening. Just having that thought for the first time. We're definitely gonna be adding more keyboard shortcuts and some pretty cool features coming up very soon before we even release global elements. So definitely excited to have you guys testing those out, especially while we're in early access. Would love any and all feedback that anyone has. So anyone watching YouTube, if you want to try out the product, even if you don't plan on using it or paying for it, we're free right now. So definitely let us know if you want to try it out. We'll give you an access code, an invite code. You can get in there, test it out, and tell us what you think, because we would love to have as much feedback as possible. We really can't do so much what we do without the feedback of our customers. Okay, so let's see here. So here's where things get a little bit hairy with the table. And let's see if I can work any magic to fix that. Okay. So everything looks almost pretty good, except for when we get to this last part here. Let's bring that spacing down. Don't need that. And obviously this gets even hairier if we have more, more plans to feature here. Sometimes you might just have to make the decision that you just want to have this entire section hidden. So if I was going to do that, I would probably just go to the page. Would actually need to count down how many blocks this is. It's probably let's see it. What's we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's number 4. So basically I would be hiding that entire table. I'm not going to do that, again, I don't want to use visibility. I don't want to hide it from people. I think it's going to confuse any users that are going to try to use this template at first. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm probably going to leave it as it is. I don't think it's horrible. You could think I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's just my opinion. Oh, all these also need to be done as well. You know what? Let's just go ahead and do that for mobile. And let's just delete all these. Luckily, we didn't put any content in yet. They're just literally copies of each other. Maybe that's another good tip I'm giving you right now, is to wait till you actually style this on mobile and tablet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just gonna have 8 for now. Might have had 10 before. Yeah, maybe make sure you have it styled for mobile and tablet first before you start putting your content. That way, if you've made any sort of mistakes and need to readjust, again, you can always do it one by one. It doesn't take that much longer than just what I just did now, where I just remove things and repasted or reduplicated, but sometimes it's faster. Okay, I'm just trying to think out loud here and think about how I want to solve this, which I could do by just increasing the amount of space each of these takes up. And really it's just the enterprise one that needs it. Now even there doesn't work. Good Lord. Well, how does Framer do it? Let's see. I know sometimes people will have their tables and they'll scroll them as a way to get around that. So let's see, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna see what it looks like on a phone. within the browser. Okay. So they basically, this is like a completely custom table, obviously, where they take each row. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I can't quite do that. Yeah, they repeat the headers. I mean, I could do this if I use visibility, but for what I'm trying to do, I'm not going to do that. So again, what they might have even done is actually, it looks like they probably created two different tables and basically hid and show different things depending on the device mode or the width of the browser. So that is probably what I would have to do as well. Either I can create a totally different table that has, you know, the features, like the check marks down below with the name of each plan above it, just like Framer does. That's definitely one way to do it. But I think for the sake of what I have here, I think I'll leave it be and we won't worry about it too much. I'll let it haunt me later. Okay, adding the spacing back up there. Don't need that random bit of spacing there, wherever that came from. Let's close this gap. Okay, FAQ looks good, and our CTA looks good as well, since that's what we had before. All right, so I think the pricing page is done-ish. Asterisk on this table here, but I think it's good for now. I'm pretty happy with it. Minor detail, but I think I'm gonna close up that gap there. Let's update it. Oh. And let's update the paragraph. So I was gonna make all of them do that. And these also don't need to be H2s. So let's quickly go through. Actually don't need to double click to highlight it, it'll do the whole thing. And this will also apply on desktop and tablet. So luckily I don't have to like worry about the styles not carrying over to each of those devices because this is a block element, so I don't have to worry about that. It's different than the styles. Oh yeah, whoops, I forgot to, I need to bring these back to what they were like before. So they're at least equal. Okay. All right, so that is mobile, which looks good. We have our plans stacked on top of each other. We have all the other content we added that we built from scratch. Let me check tablet, make sure it looks good there still. Because again, sometimes, I mean, again, if you do things on mobile style-wise, they should never affect tablet. But if you ever change the content, that can bubble up to the tablet and desktop modes. But this looks good. And then finally, looking at desktop, and we have our pricing page for our new startup template. Hopefully this page will make a startup very, very wealthy one day when they get lots of users coming in and signing up through it. All right, looks good. So I definitely have a few more pages that I plan to create for this template. I'm gonna go ahead and call it on the live stream right now. So we have a good 2 hours of work that we did. So we created the pricing page and we created the feature page. Again, a little more work to do even on those pages, mostly the features page to get the content in there as far as images and maybe a little bit of real looking content as well. But thank you for joining. For Fikri and Mafe, thank you for joining on Discord. Again, Fikri, my greatest fan. And for everyone on YouTube, thanks for watching as well. We're gonna post this on YouTube so you can watch the live stream again, or if you watch for the first time if you'd like. And we'll see you again on Tuesday with a new template that we're actually gonna start for a different site template. So this one will be wrapped up and we'll have it in the library very soon. So thank you very much and see you guys on Tuesday.